Good evening and welcome to the AB Archaeological Museum. Excuse me, please. On behalf of the Society of the Friends of the AB Archaeological Museum, the Sheikh Zayed Chair of Arabic and Islamic Studies, and the Alfred Howell Chair of History at the Department of History and Archaeology, I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Jabre Mouawad tonight. After completing a master's degree in history from the University of Paris 4, Dr. Mouawad obtained her PhD in history from St. Joseph University in Beirut in 1991 on the Western Syriacs of the Ottoman Empire in Lebanon, 1850-1930. Having served as a professor of religious history at USG between 2001 and 2004. In 2005, Dr. Mouawad co-founded and presided over the Association for the Restoration and Study of Medieval Frescoes in Lebanon until 2020. She is currently an active member of the Research and Documentation Center on Arab Christians at the St. Joseph University in Beirut. She has published several books: The Maronites, 2009, with Bripples, The Abil Lama Emirs of the Meton, 13th to 19th century. She co-authored it with Professor Levon Nordiguian in 2012 at Al Nahar Editions. This evening, she will be sharing with us her most recent publication on icons and churches of Tripoli and Koura, Lebanon. Please join me in welcoming her. Merci.
So I will mix it with French, but it's okay. I hope you will understand. I beg for your indulgence. So now let us discover together the icons and the churches of North Lebanon in the Koura and Tripoli. Why there? I was for a long time part of an association for the restoration of the medieval frescoes of Lebanon. And for that purpose, we would visit churches in the Koura district, where you have a lot of churches with frescoes, like in Amyoun, in Kizba, in Kfar Hazir, in, no, not Kfar Hazir, in Kizba, in Kfar Akka. So some of these frescoes, were erased, but some others were still there. And we are actually restoring the frescoes of a church in Kuzba dedicated to Notre Dame. When I was visiting these churches, in the Orthodox churches, there were always icons, a lot of icons. And I started to be very interested by them. And this is how I made the plan to write about them, because they were so interesting. So far, I found out that the oldest icon, perhaps the oldest icon in the area, and perhaps in Lebanon, is in the Orthodox convent of Our Lady of Kaftoun, and south of the Koura district. It has, oh, pardon. This is in front of the convent of Notre Dame of Kaftoun. You have an old ruins of an old medieval monastery This picture was taken before its restoration, and the restoration was due to Dr. Leila Badr, who brought a Polish team to restore this medieval monastery. This is how, and we discovered, of course, a lot of frescoes that are splendid. And this is the icon that is perhaps the oldest icon in Lebanon. It is a Virgin Hodigitria. It is a big icon that you can still see in the convent of Notre Dame. You see, it's called Hodigitria, which means the guide. Why? Because the Virgin is showing with her hand the infant Jesus, who is the guide. So we have always in the churches an icon of the Virgin Hodigitria. This icon also, that is probably from the 13th century, at the time where the Franks were ruling the county of Tripoli, has a mixture of a Byzantine tradition together with some features that are inspired by Latin miniatures and drawings at that time, especially in the frame where you have, but you cannot see it here so clearly. It is a double icon. That means on the other side of the icon of the Virgin of Keftoun, you have a baptism of Christ. That is also a mixture of a traditional representation of the baptism of Christ, with Christ in the Jordan River, cursing the bad evil here in the, and Saint John the Baptist, who is baptizing him, and the angel ready with a towel to receive him when he go out of the water. But what is so interesting in this icon is this, the trilingual icon. This is a trilingual icon. And this is a particularity of Lebanon, where you have really a mixture of languages. So here you have the Greek, that is the language of the icon. So Greek is the language of the icon. You always have the basic indication in Greek, in English. But you also have here, in the 13th century, this rouleau, I don't know how you say it, where in Arabic, where it is King David, who is, it's a mixture of psalms from the Bible. And here you have in Syriac, the prophet Isaiah, who is also, so this is really particular for the icon of Keftoun. Now, let us go to Balamand, because here you have the oldest dated icon of the Lebanon, and at least from the Koura district. You see, Balamand was founded by Latin Cistercian monks in 1157, so mid-12th century, at a time where the Crusaders were ruling the coast of Lebanon, and the abbey had, until now, has many features of a Romanesque style from the 13th century, from the 12th century, and added other part later. So this is the oculus with the two apertures, the facade. You have the typical nude church, Cistercian church, with no ornament and voûte en berceau, barrel vault, and also here the tower bell that is from the time of Belmont, and also this is capital with carved capital. After the departure of the Franks, the Mamluks took over. They kicked away Sultan Qalawun, conquered Tripoli, and the whole area became under the Mamluks, whose capital was in Cairo. And of course, there is no bells anymore. And in Balamand, after the departure of the Latin Cistercian, they were replaced by this called cimanders, where it is traditional in the Orthodox world, where the monks just hit the piece of wood or with a rod. So when the Cistercian monks left, they were replaced by Greek monks. When I say Greek, I mean Rome, not Greek from Athens, etc. So the Greek Oriental monks, today we call them Orthodox, but Orthodox is not correct for that period. This is why I will not use it. So they brought with them this icon of the Lady of Balamand. And it's also a Virgin Hodigitria who shows her son as the guide. And what is fascinating also in this icon, it is beautiful. What is fascinating in this icon is this. It speaks, all the icons have a small text that is on the lower part of the icon that gives many indications about to which church the icon was painted, the year, the donor who financed the painter. It's not the case here, but it gives this indication that the icon dates from 1318. So we know that Balamand became Orthodox or Greek by 1318. And it was embellished a second time by the Hajj Hanna al-Qudsi in its monastery. That means the icon was not taken away for restoration. It stayed since 1318 in Balamand. It is important because this is what it stressed. And it has been embellished a third time by the hand of Michael Kurdali. It's Michael the Cretan, a great iconographer that I will speak about later on. And the painter at the time of Father Abdullah, the Archimandrite in the Christian year 1818. So you have also here the role of the clergy in financing icons and supervising the production of icons. Here you have the superior of the monastery, but later on you will have bishops, the bishops of Tripoli, who would also always be behind the project of icons. Another thing here that I would like to stress is the word by the hand. Icons are not painted by a painter. They are painted by God through the hand of somebody whose hand is just inspired by God. And so always at the bottom of the icons in Arabic, you will find biyad, by the hand of, okay? Now, the Greek monks remained in Balamand. The Mamluks left, the Ottomans occupied Lebanon and the Near East. And the oldest icons of the Ottoman period and the biggest, it's a very big icon, 1 meter 65 on 1 meter 18. So it's really a big icon. And it is, this item speaks a lot also. It was painted in 1692 by a fantastic painter called Na'met al-Musawwir from Aleppo. Na'met al-Musawwir is part of a dynasty of iconographers that is very well known. When you say it's a Musawwir of Aleppo, the icon value is enormous. And the father of, let me show you, here you have the dedication, the text that gives all this information. His father was Yusuf al-Musawwir. So in Aleppo, the Musawwirs had their workshop in the Christian quarter near the Greek Orthodox Church, the Maronite and the Armenian in the Christian quarter. And they were 4 generations of Musawwir: Yusuf, Na'met, Hanania, and Girgis. And in Lebanon, when you find one of these icons were signed by one of these Musawwirs, they are the best. So here is 1692, the Dormition of the Virgin. Now it's very complex icon because it shows you the Virgin who did not die. She is sleeping, and Jesus is carrying her soul in the shape of a baby, because for Christians, dying is reborning again. So around her, you have the apostles who came, St. Peter's and St. John, and you have the women of Jerusalem also who are present. We are in Jerusalem. Now, on the upper part, you have another scene, which is the Assumption of the Virgin to the heaven. She went up to the heaven. This part, the Assumption, is of Latin inspiration. It's not very Oriental. It is more a tradition that comes from the West. But it is very funny because you have all the apostles who were preaching the good news of Jesus, who came from wherever they were in the world. And here, the Virgin is throwing her belt to Thomas, who is always late, who was always late. So this is also another part of the icon. And here down, you have also another story where you have a Jew called Jephonias who wanted to overthrow the bed of the Virgin, but the Archangel Michael, came and cut his hands, and his hands remained stick on the bed. But fortunately for him, he converted to Christianity and he recovered his hands. And here you have a last scene that is very strange also, because here they speak of the non-death of the Virgin. But here they show the apostle putting her corpse in a sarcophagus. So I wonder why Na'met al-Musawwir added it. And in fact, I discovered that the Orthodox of Jerusalem are the keepers, the guardians of the tomb of the Virgin in Jesmania. It's called Jesmania. So he added this detail because, of course, there are Orthodox people who are watching the icon. So for them, it is natural to see that. They would understand immediately the relation. Now, after the Dormition of Na'met Musawwir, the monks of Balamand built iconostasis in the Church of Notre Dame. And I show you this one, although it is not the old one, the previous inostasis of 1697. This is more recent, 19th century. But it's just to tell you that icons are not painted randomly, just like that. They have a place in the church. And this place, it is this structure that determine the place of the icon in a church. First, on the top, you have the Calvary, the Salabut, where they have the cross of Christ on the Golgotha. And then down you have the two icons of the mother of Jesus, of God. It's called the mother of God, Mater Theou, and the Saint John the Apostle, like it is said in the Gospels. And then down you have the icons of the apostles with Jesus in the middle. And here, around the royal door, this is Bab al-Muluki, you have the Virgin Hodigitria and the Jesus, Lord Jesus. And here, you always have, it is always the place of the icon that bears the name of the church. So here you have a Dormition. These are Russian icons, but it's just here you have the Dormition of the name of the Sayyidat al-Niyah, the name of the church of Balamand, of Notre Dame. Here is another iconostasis in Balamand also, because the monks wanted to, they needed another church for them. And they transformed the chapter where the Cistercian monk would reunite in chapter, they transformed it into a second church dedicated to St. George. And so this is another iconostasis with the same display of icons. Now, Ni'mat al-Musawwir came personally to Balamand. After they built the iconostasis, the superior of Balamand, who was from Aleppo, brought him to Balamand and asked him to paint the two iconostases that we saw here. And he came, and he was a monk. When he came, Ni'mat al-Musawwir at first was not a monk. His father was a priest. But Ni'mat, when he came to Balamand, he was a monk, and he stayed in Balamand and painted, and probably his workshop in Balamand with helpers, etc. But we don't know exactly where it is. If you, I show you just one of his paintings because it's really also splendid. It shows the sense of composition of this painter, and it has. This is Saint George, who is killing the dragon that was about to attack or eat the princess, which is, in our tradition, is a princess of Beirut, the daughter of the king and the queen of Beirut, who are on the tower, and the king is so grateful to St. George that he is giving him the keys of the city. And around the central panel, you have several panels of the miracles and the passion also of St. George. He suffered martyrdom. But why also this is so interesting? Okay, here first you have the dedication. So the text that gives the name of the painter, the church, etc., the date, et tout. And here, look, this icon, he painted Ottoman style arcade with alternative black and white arcade in the like the architecture of that time in Damascus and Aleppo. He also, what is interesting is that Ni'mat al-Musawwir chose that kind of ornaments of one red, one yellow, one red, one yellow, alternate ornament for the frame, which reminds of the Quranic ornamentation of the Qurans. And he was a copyist. Ni'mat was also a copyist. And he learned probably Arabic at the hand of a calligrapher in Aleppo, a Muslim calligrapher in Aleppo. So he has a beautiful script, handwriting, Namet. But also, this is where he got this influence of an Islamic style. So this is enough for St. George. He painted it in 1701. And now I go to Tripoli because the Bishop of Tripoli, Makarios, hearing about the beautiful icons of Namet in Balaman, decided to go and see him. Now, this bishop had his church, the Greek Orthodox Saint Nicholas Church, that belonged to the Orthodox, where they prayed, was for centuries under the citadel, in a quarter that was Christian at the beginning of the Ottoman era, I mean, in the 16th century, but progressively became more Muslim. Anyway, it will be important later on. But now, Makarios left his church and went to Balaman and asked Ni'mat al-Musawwir to paint icons for his cathedral of St. Nicholas that no more exists. But at the time, this is where. So he asked him to paint a St. Nicholas, and he asked him to paint in 1704 this icon of St. Peter and St. Paul, the two pillars of the church. It is an icon that you find always with two carrying a church. But here, this church is very particular. Why? Because it has minarets. So it's a church mosque. And you know why. I mean, somebody who would see it would immediately make the connection with Saint Sophia in Constantinople, all right? And so this is why it is so interesting how this icon shows that the heart of the Greek Orthodox was beating in Constantinople with the Patriarchate of Constantinople and, of course, of this church of Saint Sophia. And so Ni'mat al-Musawwir, who painted this icon, died in Balamand probably in 1724. And he brought with him, few years before he died, his son, Hanania. Hanania came to Balamand in an epidemic of pest, of plague. And it was customary to always, for the city people, to go in the monasteries of Mount Lebanon to hide from the plague. You have many stories like that. They would come in. So Hanania came with his father in 1719 because there was a plague in Aleppo. And he came to Balamand and painted also wonderful icons. I will not show them to you because I prefer to go where Hanania, after the death, his father's death, went to this monastery. So here you have the second monastery where a Musawwir, one of these great people, painted. This is Deir al-Natur, the monastery of the Guardian. And as you see, it is very close to the sea. And it is all surrounded by salt production squares. The monastery was attacked by pirates in 1717. And they came here, and these pirates were Christians from the Order of Malta. They had the flag of Malta on their ship, and the Patriarch of the Orthodox wrote for a letter for the Catholic Council telling him The pirates stole everything, including cups and liturgical vestments. They even took the earthenware plate, the bucket from the well, the shoemaker's tools. They killed the cows and an old monk, then they left. So it is probably when the church was repaired by the superior of this monastery that he called Hanania al-Musawwir to paint some icons for the ruined church that was restored in 1728. Now, this is inside a view of the church inside. It was painted with modern painting by a Russian priest. But the two icons of Hanania are here, the royal icons, and there is a third one, and perhaps a fourth one. And this is the icon that I want to show you from by Hanania al-Musawwir in Deir al-Natur. It is terrible, and but I wanted to show it to you because it is terrible because it's wonderful by its subject, but also it was badly restored. You see, it was badly restored by a monk in Abdo Saliba in 1911, before the First World War. He says here in the dedication that he repaired, he embellished this icon that is by Hanania al-Musawwir. But he also added his own input. But what I love, and also a modern restorer put a bad varnish, and this gives destroys. It can destroy. It can be retaken away, but it's just an example of many mistakes that can be done also in restoration. So this virgin is with her son, like she is floating on the sea. And here you have a small boat that is imperiled because there is a tempest, and the two men are asking her, the Virgin, to help them, and she is very appeasing and extend her hands, and Christ is giving his benediction. So Hanania al-Musawwir left Deir al-Natur, went back to Aleppo, and never came back to the area of Tripoli and Koura. But he was replaced by a third iconographer called Hanna al-Qudsi. Hanna al-Qudsi painted icons specifically for the church I talked to you about of the old Saint Nicholas under the citadel. Now here we are in a completely different tempo. Hanna al-Qudsi is from Jerusalem. It is a different style, and I will show you how. Look at this church in Kfar Hazir, a very nice church that is at the beginning of the Koura, entrance of the Koura, where you have medieval arcs and always a contrast with an iconostasis that was built by artisans from Homs in 1861. And when I went to have a cup of tea with the priest of Kfar Hazir, he nicely told me, you can go up the stairs and you will see something nice. We are making some work, architectural work. And so I went up and I discovered the medieval facade that you cannot see from outside. It is inside. Also with the oculus and the two aperture and the typical Romanesque style. So you see, this is in Kfar Hazir. Now, let me go to Hanna al-Qudsi. This is Hanna al-Qudsi painted like that, but it's not him. This is a pilgrimage icon that someone from Kfar Hazir who went to the Holy Land brought back to the church. And it is typical of the style of Jerusalem iconographers, because it's a style that is a bit childish, that is naive, but at the same time, it has something very fresh, very that speaks immediately for the heart and very close to the Gospels. And here, in fact, this is a map of Palestine. This is a map, a spiritual map, a Christian map for the pilgrim who immediately, when he sees it, he sees Jaffa, where he came by boat and where he went down, and going to Bethlehem, he went through all these villages where you have St. George Church, Barbara Church, the Sufi who converted to Christianity, Khadr, and also the two other churches. And so he knows, when he sees this, he sees his itinerary, and he gets to Bethlehem, where you have the birth of Jesus, and the Marsaba monastery, and here you have the place where John the Baptist baptized Jesus. So you see, this is a map, and in the middle, of course, you have Kanisat Nuss al-Dunya, and the Resurrection Church, here in white, with many different parts of the church that I indicated in Arabic. So this is the style of the school of Jerusalem, Al-Quds. Now, this was painted by Hanna al-Qudsi in the same spirit. This church, this icon is fascinating and very, very talkative. You have all the text in Arabic written in a bad Arabic, because Hanna al-Qudsi was a humble painter. He didn't have the education. Aleppo, you must remember that Aleppo at the time was the center of a vilayet, the caravan, where all caravan of the Silk Road would arrive, very rich. You have the Venetian consulate, the English consulate, the French consulate. It was a city where you had all different missionaries, high culture. Here we deal with a painter who did not get this, was not educated in this environment. So you see the Arabic is chaotic, and also the dedication that gives us the name of the church to which it was painted, the signature of the painter Hanna al-Qudsi, etc. Now here you have Saint Dimitri, who is fighting and killing a giant called Lihaos. Like the Saint George, you have the same pattern of miracles and also martyrdom of Saint Dimitri. And I want it to insist on that panel, because this panel shows you a miracle that happened in Tripoli. The texts say, لما راح ديمتريوس, I'll say it in Arabic very quickly, لما راح ديمتريوس إلى مصر وخلص الصبي من اليسر وجابه إلى طرابلس إلى عند سته، لأنه القديس أعطاها قول: أنت روحي إلى بلدك طرابلس، أنا بجيب لك إياه. فجاب لها إياه من اليسر وسلم لها إياه على ضفة البحر، وقال له: نادي ستك. فناداها وقال لها: ستي. فقالت له قسطنطين: مين جابك؟ اللي قال لها القديس ديمتريوس: جابني إلى التو وغاب عندي. C'est-à-dire, it means, it's the story of an old grandma who asked Saint Dimitri to save her grandchildren from her grandchild from captivity, because he was taken on a boat to Egypt to be sold as a slave. And Saint Dimitri had this dialogue with the grandma and with the little child. The child is called Constantine. So you see, you have, this is a very touching scene from a popular painter. And the church to which the icon was painted is not Saint Nicholas, but this splendid church that is in Elmina. It is Saint George and Mina. And of course, it is a medieval church, a basilica. It's not just a church, it's a basilica. And of course, to which was added the Ottoman iconostasis. And in Tripoli and Koura, this is always this contrast that is striking. Romanesque style, medieval style, and then the Ottoman Byzantine style. And the two get together in the churches. Let's go now to the fourth painter, iconographer of Tripoli. It is the Bishop of Tripoli himself who painted icons. His name is Parthenios, and his style is totally different, totally. He has a tendency to paint characters that fit the whole frame, from top to down. No place for something around. The colors, he plays a lot on the contrast of colors, and this pink is very nice. But what I love the most is that it is the good shepherd, and he bring with him, look at the expression of the sheep that has been found, because he left the 99 sheep to go and find her because she went away. And this is another painting by Parthenios that is incredible, because it is the Virgin Mary. And we are not used at all to this representation of the Virgin Mary, but it is very powerful. She is like a Caucasian type of woman. She is mourning. And because she is mourning, her hair, like in the Bible, when you are mourning, women leave their hair free. And she's crying, and she is saying, أقول وأنا باكية يا ولدي وسيدي، أما العالم فيفرح لقبوله الخلاص، وأما أحشائي فتلتهب عند نظري إلى صلبوتك الذي أنت صابر عليه من أجل الكل يا ابني وإلهي. Now she is mourning and saying this extract in Arabic. It's an extract by a Mount Athos hermit called Gregory Palamas from the 12th century. It's an extract from one of his poems, texts. Don't forget that the bishop is the bishop, so it is full of religious inputs. And now the last iconographer of Tripoli, Michael the Cretan, came from Crete. Michael the Cretan came because there was a big drama in Tripoli concerning the Greek Orthodox. Here, their old cathedral of Saint Nicholas, they had to abandon it. Why? To make it very quick, the citadel was occupied by the governor of Tripoli, the Ottoman governor of Tripoli, who was Barbar Agha. He was a native of Lebanon, of Kalamoun, an Agha, an officer, who, as soon as he became named by the port to be the governor of Tripoli, lived in the citadel and had a garrison with him, and nobody could take him away from it. The Ottomans were so annoyed by his arrogance. For 10 years, they let him do, what he wanted. But after 10 years, they decided that they want to get rid of him. So they named governor of Tripoli the governor of Damascus, Yusuf al-Azm. And they told him, you are now the governor of Tripoli. Yusuf al-Azm came with his troops to, first he summoned Barbar Agha to Damascus. Of course, he didn't go. So he came here and with his troops, but he was no way, he couldn't win over Barbar, and he had to go back to Damascus in a bad state. He came back 1 year later with 200 men and surrounded the citadel, cut the water, and finally, for 3 months, he was there waiting for Barbar Agha to surrender. And during this time, the Damascus soldiers were plundering the old city of Tripoli, no matter what, mosques, seraglios, khans. It was a very rich city, and our church of St. Nicholas. Barbar Agha finally in January 1809 was expelled, had to go out from the citadel. When the Greek Orthodox of Tripoli saw the state of their church, it was in ruin. The icons were destroyed, some of them were restored later on, but it was really very hard for them to have something to do to repair it. The Muslims of Tripoli, with whom the Orthodox of Tripoli had excellent relations, the notables of Muslim notables, the sheikhs, came and talked to the bishop Theodosius in January 1809, and they told him, "Give us your old church, and we have a mosque nearby. We will make it bigger, so it will become a mosque. And we are giving you a piece of land down in a quarter where you can be more free to make your processions, and you will build a new St. Nicholas." And this is the actual St. Nicholas Church of Tripoli. When you go there, this is a cathedral that was newly built in 1809, 1815. The new St. Nicholas. The mosque is supposedly, this mosque is supposedly the old church of the, but it's not sure. Really, this has to be, I went inside and it's not clear, and you have to really go around and check. This is Al-Uwaisiyya Mosque, all right, under the citadel. And this is a new St. Nicholas with 4 iconostases. The bishop, you know, it's a lot, 4 iconostases. To ornate, decorate the new church, who was better than a Cretan painter, Michael the Cretan. Now, it happened that Michael was in Damascus at the Patriarchate in Damascus, because his father, Polychronis, was there also to paint icons. And so the Bishop Theodosius asked Michael the Cretan, the best. When you say that a Cretan painter is coming to paint an iconostasis, it is as if you ask somebody in the Renaissance coming from the workshop of Michelangelo or Botticelli. And Cretan icons, iconographers were very, very famous. When you say an iconographer from Crete, it is the top. So Michael the Cretan came from Damascus to Tripoli, and here for 5 years, he opened his workshop near the new cathedral of St. Nicholas to paint all these icons for the St. Nicholas Church. He probably painted more than 55 icons. So for 5 years, and in the iconostasis were carved by workmen from Damascus who write their name and say that they have made these iconostasis, and the Christian of Tripoli financed it, always dedications. Now, I show you one of the 55 or more icons of Michael the Cretan, which is this nativity. Why? Because it is quite particular. It shows you the mixture of Western and traditional Byzantine composition. Look at the Virgin Mary, who is holding the sheet where Jesus Christ. It's not the usual. And also Saint Joseph, who is against a marble pillar. We don't know what it is doing there. But why I show you this? Because I believe that Michael the Cretan is him, the Rai, the shepherd, because he is very westernized, and he holds his hat with, well, hat is Western in Ottoman Empire, Westerners would have a hat. I think it is him, and he was young, quite young. And I show you this icon also because I like it so much. This is the circumcision of Christ. It is really incredible because the Christians have a day, 8 days after the birth of Christ. There is a day for the circumcision of Christ. And what is interesting here also, it is a rare icon. This theme is not common. Okay, this theme is not common among icons. And what is interesting is the knowledge that Michael the Syrian had of the Jewish rituals, because the vestments here you have a particular yes, but it has a name, I forgot it. Yeah, of the 12 tribes of Israel, and also the head gear. And what is funny, he has the rabbi, the kahan, he put his glasses because he must not skip the and this is the third, the only one that I will show you also of Michael the Syrians because I love it. This is Marmus al-Habashi, the Saint Moses the Ethiopian. I love it because he brandishes the cross like like he's going to hit you on the head like a club, and he says, in fact, in this inscription, he says, "Whoever flees the word draws closer to God." Moses the Ethiopian was a thief who attacked a convent of nuns, and there he was converted by the virtues of the nuns, and he entered and became a monk. And so this is the story. Look, the turquoise that Michael the Syrian used a lot. Now, in 1818, 3 years, 4 years, 1819, Michael the Syrians practically finished the icons he had to paint for the church of Saint Nicholas, and for the Koura also he painted several icons, and he left Trablus for few months, then came back. And when he came back, the Bishop Theodosius told him to paint icons for the splendid church of St. George Elmina, which is, like I told you, probably a medieval church with this cross and these ornaments and the porch. And this is the last icon, one of the last icons he painted in Tripoli for this church of St. George. It is a Virgin Hodigitria, and after 1919, he painted one last painting in 1820, and he left Tripoli. Michael the Syrian left after 5 years. He left the Orient. Why, we don't know. We know that he headed for Cyprus. He went on a boat. He headed for Cyprus, then Cyprus to Crete, probably because he was tired of his life in the Orient, but also because there was a big problem with the independence of Greece in that period between 1820, 1821. terrible period for the Orthodox of the empire. And the Ottomans were very hard with them everywhere, including in Lebanon. And perhaps the Cretan, Michael the Cretan, left to Crete because he heard about rebellious movements and he wanted to be there in his native island. What happened also is that when he left, this was the last great iconographer of that period. I finish with him. Just an observation. It is not finished. That means after Michael the Cretan, there was a second wave of iconographers in Koura and Tripoli from 1860 and on until the First World War. And they all copied him. They would come and copy literally the icons and paint, but they were not as good, of course, as him. The classical period ends with Michael the Cretan. Now, I really conclude with sincere thanks to my colleagues, Professor Nadia Sheikh, historian, and Ms. Nadine Panayot, curator of the AUB Archaeological Museum, and Dr. Bilad Orfali of the Sheikh Zayed Chair of Arabic and Islamic Studies for inviting me here. I was first surprised when I received their invitation. Why was I surprised when they called me and asked me to make a lecture? Because, you know, churches and icons apparently is a special topic in Tripoli. But I hope that you understood that it is not a special topic for Tripoli and Christians. These icons speak of history, languages, Byzantium, Islam, missionaries, the Ottomans. They speak of all that makes up the fabric of our cultural melting pot. So again, I thank the AUB organizers to have asked me to give this lecture, and I thank you for your patience. Thank you.